Galactic Academy of Sciences, Xenobiological Research Division, Regenerative Biology Module Assessment. Filed by Lead Researcher Pelyuri, Meridi. Subject of Interest, Cadet Callum Voss, Human, Earth Origin. Assessment Outcome, Anomalous. Forwarded to Military Biological Division, Galactic Taxonomy Authority. Beep. The scanner completed its initial sweep of the exam hall. It was a sterile, high-ceilinged room designed for efficiency, not comfort. Pelyuri adjusted the magnification on the primary console. 12 cadets sat in the observation row, each awaiting the standard structural recovery analysis. Most were predictable. The Sylphian cadet showed the expected 60% calcium retention in his left thorax. The Krell displayed typical cartilage degradation. Then the scanner passed over the human. The test result printout was already beginning to churn out data that would eventually rewrite galactic tactical manuals. You'll want to hear how this ends. Trust me on that. Callum Voss sat in seat 12. He was a former carpenter from a planet where gravity is a constant adversary. He didn't look like a biological enigma. He looked tired. He held a ceramic mug of steaming brown liquid, a Terran stimulant he called coffee. Pelyuri watched the human lift the mug. Callum pursed his lips and blew a gentle, rhythmic breath across the surface of the liquid to cool it. For every known organism in the quadrant, a skeletal fracture represents beep. The console flashed amber. Pelyuri ignored the interruption, focusing on the cadet's intake file. Callum had listed carpentry as his primary skill set before joining the academy. His hands were thick, marked with small, pale lines of scar tissue. Standard structural scan initiated, Pelyuri said, her voice a flat, synthesized melody. Callum nodded and took a sip. Cool. Does this take long? I have a navigation drill at 1400. The process is automated, Cadet Voss. Pelyuri engaged the deep tissue resonance. The echo object, a long strip of high-density thermal paper, began to spool into the collection tray. It was the physical record of the human's internal architecture. Most species had bones like glass or light alloys. They were optimized for weight, but once breached, they remained compromised forever. The scanner moved to Callum's right clavicle. Wait, Pelyuri whispered. The data on the console didn't just look wrong. It looked impossible. There was a localized spike in bone density exactly midway along the collarbone. It wasn't a tumor. It lacked the erratic growth patterns of a malignancy. Instead, the bone was simply more. It was a thick, reinforced knot of mineralized tissue that glowed bright white on the thermal display. Pelyuri's sensory filaments twitched with agitation. Scanner. Density anomaly detected. Structural integrity at coordinates 44 to 9, 112% of baseline. Cadet, Pelyuri said, her scientific detachment fraying. The scan indicates a significant structural deviation in your upper skeletal frame. Did you undergo illegal gene splicing or skeletal reinforcement before leaving Earth? Callum looked down at his chest, then back at the researcher. He gave a small, confused huff of laughter. What? No, I just broke it when I was 10. Fell out of a tree. Pelyuri's internal sensors were spiking. She pulled the physical printout from the tray and stared at the 3 distinct white hotspots. Left radius, right clavicle, second metatarsal. All 3 sites showed the same impossible density. Callum stood up, the chair scraping against the floor. He took the paper from the desk and began to walk around the room. He held the test result printout loosely, rhythmically tapping the edge of the paper against his thigh as he paced. Is it bad? He asked. You are looking at that screen like I have a third arm growing out of my neck. It is statistically impossible, Pelyuri said. She manipulated the console to overlay a standard human skeleton with the cadet's unique scan. Your bone tissue is significantly denser at the injury sites than the original undamaged structure. Look at the mineral concentration here. It is as if your body viewed the trauma not as a failure, but as an urgent opportunity for structural renovation. For every other known organism, a fracture is a permanent reduction in capacity. It is a debt that is never fully repaid. It is not merely fixing it, cadet. It is a preemptive reinforcement of a failing structure. You are a biological fortress in progress. I guess I was just a clumsy kid, Callum said. He stopped pacing and looked at the glowing white spots on the monitor. My mom used to say I was made of rubber and spite. Does the scanner show the time I hit my head on the garage door? That one needed 6 stitches and a very long talk about spatial awareness. We are currently focusing on structural mineral density, not dermal repairs, Pelyuri replied. This density is not a localized error or a fluke of your specific lineage. It is a systematic biological upgrade. Kalani, run the comparative registry for species 4412 again. I want a side-by-side on fracture recovery curves for every known vertebrate in the sector. Research assistant Kalani stepped closer, her 4 eyes widening in unison. I have already run it twice, lead researcher. The data is consistent. Every other known life form shows a decline in structural integrity following a break. The human is the only one trending upward. Every injury he sustained as a child has made him structurally superior to a human who has never been hurt. The military division will want to know if this applies to soft tissue as well. If their muscles scar into denser fibers, they are essentially unkillable by attrition. The military implications of a self-reinforcing infantry unit would... It took a while to heal, Callum said, his shrug dismissing the seismic shift in galactic biology. He seemed more concerned with the dust on his boots than the fact that he was an evolutionary outlier. 6 weeks in a cast, usually. The doctor told me the bone grows back denser at the fracture site to prevent it happening again. I honestly thought that happened to everyone. Is that not how bodies work? You break a thing, the body fixes it better so it does not break again. No, Kalani whispered. Damage makes them harder. Every injury is an upgrade. They come back better from breaking. He was stronger now. Pelyuri watched him. He was not a soldier. He was a carpenter who liked trees and coffee. Yet, his very cells were programmed for a violent evolution. He finished his drink and set the mug on the sterile table with a soft, final click. Can I go to my drill now? He asked. I am already 5 minutes late, and my instructor does not really appreciate the scientific anomaly excuse. Yes, Cadet Voss, you are dismissed. We have all the data we require for the initial report. Thanks. Have a good one. He walked out, leaving the room in a stunned, clinical silence. Report update. Cadet Voss has been reclassified. The classification regenerative self-reinforcing has been applied to all human biological profiles. The Academy's Department of Evolutionary Biology requested immediate access to the full Earth biological dataset, noting that the evolutionary pressures required to develop a self-improving damage response imply a planet where structural failure is so common that the species simply adapted to thrive on it. The files have been forwarded to the Military Biological Division for immediate strategic review. The investigation into Earth's environmental lethality is ongoing. The test result printout remained on the desk, a single sheet of paper that had turned a simple carpenter into a terrifying galactic security threat.